I still remember the exact words. Margaret, you need to prepare for the worst. Your test results. They're not good. My doctor's face was solemn as he explained that at 73 my heart was failing, my diabetes was uncontrolled, and my mobility issues meant I'd likely need full-time care within months. He handed me a stack of brochures for assisted living facilities. That was 3 years ago. Today, I walk 4 miles every morning through the woods behind my house. My heart is stronger. My blood sugar is stable. And those assisted living brochures, they're collecting dust in a drawer I rarely open. This is the story of how stepping into nature quite literally saved my life when medical science had all but given up. It started with shortness of breath. Just walking from my bedroom to the kitchen left me winded. My ankles swelled to twice their normal size by evening. I'd been living with type 2 diabetes for nearly 2 decades, but suddenly everything seemed to worsen at once. The doctor visits became a blur of grim faces and technical terms. Congestive heart failure, neuropathy, osteoarthritis. The medications multiplied until my pill organizer looked like a candy store. My children started having those conversations. You know, the ones whispered phone calls about what to do with mom. My son David even took a week off work to help me look at care facilities. I felt my independence slipping away with each passing day. I've always been stubborn, just ask my late husband, God rest his soul. He used to say I was the most determined woman in all of Ohio. But even my determination wavered in those dark days. I spent most of my time in my recliner, watching the world through my living room window, feeling my body and spirit deteriorate in tandem. The change came from an unexpected source. My 7-year-old granddaughter Lily was staying with me for the weekend while my daughter attended a conference. I was having a particularly bad day, my breathing labored, my joints aching. Lily had been patient, playing quietly with her toys on the floor beside my chair. Grandma, she said suddenly, looking up at me with those earnest brown eyes, my teacher says when you feel bad, you should go outside and find 3 beautiful things. That's what we do at school when we're sad, such simple wisdom from such a small person. To humor her, I agreed to sit on the back porch. Just stepping outside felt monumental. The June air was sweet with honeysuckle. A cardinal flashed, red against the green trees. The breeze carried the distant laughter of neighborhood children. 1, 2, 3 beautiful things, Lily counted triumphantly. Do you feel better now? And strangely, I did. Just a little. But it was the first better I'd felt in months. After Lily went home, I found myself thinking about those moments on the porch. The next day, I shuffled to the edge of my small backyard. The day after, a few steps further to the old oak tree. Each small venture left me exhausted, but oddly refreshed in spirit. 2 weeks later, I discovered something unexpected. The path at the edge of my property led to a small nature preserve I'd forgotten existed. Only a quarter-mile of flat, accessible trail, but it might as well have been Mount Everest to me then. Just to the first bench, I told myself. Just 5 minutes outside. Those 5 minutes became 10, then 20. The first bench became the second. And something remarkable began to happen. I'd like to tell you there was a dramatic moment when everything changed, like those weight loss commercials where someone throws away their old jeans. But healing, real healing, rarely works that way, especially for seniors like me. The change was glacially slow. Almost imperceptible day to day. But week to week, month to month, my doctor noticed before I did. Your blood pressure is down, he remarked at a checkup about 3 months into my daily walks. He looked at me curiously. Have you been doing anything different? When I told him about my morning walks, he seemed skeptical but encouraged me to continue. Whatever works, he said, adjusting my medications slightly. By month 6, I was walking nearly a mile each day. The swelling in my ankles had subsided. I'd lost 12 pounds without even trying. My blood sugar readings, which had been frighteningly erratic, stabilized into a more predictable pattern. But the physical changes, impressive as they were, paled in comparison to what was happening to my mind and spirit. There's something about being among trees that changes your perspective. When you're surrounded by living things that have stood for 100 years or more, your own problems seem less overwhelming. I began to notice things I'd been blind to before: the intricate patterns of bark on different trees, the various bird songs that marked different times of day, the way sunlight filtered through leaves to create patterns on the forest floor. These walks became my sanctuary, my meditation, my therapy. I began researching what was happening to me. Was it just increased physical activity improving my health? Or was there something specific about being in nature? What I discovered fascinated me. Scientists call it forest bathing. The Japanese term is shinrin-yoku. Research shows that time spent among trees reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and improves immune function. The phytoncides, airborne chemicals that plants emit to protect themselves, actually boost our natural killer cells, the ones that fight disease. For someone with my health issues, these walks were like a daily dose of the most powerful medicine. I learned that nature exposure increases vitamin D levels, essential for those of us with osteoporosis. The varied terrain of natural paths improves balance and reduces fall risk. The mental focus required to navigate uneven ground strengthens neural pathways that can help resist cognitive decline. My doctor, initially skeptical, became increasingly interested as my test results continued to improve. Whatever you're doing in those woods, he told me at my one-year checkup, keep doing it. As the seasons changed, so did my relationship with my daily walks. Summer's lush greenery gave way to fall's spectacular color show. I found myself rising earlier, eager to see the morning mist hovering over the trail, to feel the satisfying crunch of leaves beneath my feet. Winter presented new challenges. Ice and snow made some days impossible. I invested in proper boots, trekking poles, even ice cleats that attached to my shoes. On the worst days, I walked laps around the local indoor mall, but it never provided the same mental relief as the woods. By spring, a full year into my new life, I was walking nearly 3 miles daily. I'd lost 30 pounds. My diabetes medication had been cut in half. My heart function had improved to the point where my cardiologist called it remarkable for someone your age. But the most profound change was in my outlook. I'd gone from preparing for the end of my life to planning for years ahead. I signed up for a senior hiking group. I began volunteering at the nature center near my home, helping school groups identify local plants and wildlife. I was living again. Really living. Now I don't want to paint an unrealistic picture. There were setbacks. Plenty of them. A bout of bronchitis kept me housebound for 2 weeks and erased much of my stamina. I had to rebuild slowly. A fall on a rainy day resulted in a sprained wrist and a serious reconsideration of my safety practices. There were days when arthritis flared so badly that even getting to the trailhead seemed impossible. Days when depression, a constant companion for much of my life, convinced me that all this effort was futile, that decline was inevitable. But here's what I learned: setbacks are not failures. They're part of the journey, especially for seniors navigating health challenges. The path to wellness isn't linear. It's more like those winding forest trails I'd come to love, with unexpected turns, occasional obstacles, and surprising vistas just when you think you're lost. And I discovered something else, something powerful. The more connected I became to the rhythms of nature, the more resilient I became in facing these challenges. When you watch forests recover from storms, flowers push through pavement cracks, and ancient trees bear the scars of lightning strikes yet continue to grow, you gain perspective on your own resilience. About 18 months into my journey, my story caught the attention of researchers at the University Medical Center. They were conducting a study on alternative interventions for seniors with multiple chronic conditions. They asked if I would participate, tracking my walks, completing cognitive assessments, and undergoing regular physical evaluations. I agreed, partly out of curiosity about my own transformation, and partly hoping my experience might help others. The data they collected confirmed what I already knew in my bones. Nature walking was medicine for aging bodies. My inflammatory markers had decreased significantly. My heart rate variability, an important measure of cardiovascular health, had improved. My balance scores placed me in the category of someone a decade younger. But perhaps most surprising were the cognitive benefits. Tests showed improvements in my attention span, working memory, and creative problem-solving abilities. Walking in nature, it seems, exercises the brain in ways that indoor activities simply don't. The lead researcher explained it this way: natural environments are information-rich in a particular way. They contain what we call soft fascination, elements that capture attention gently without demanding intense focus. This allows the brain's directed attention systems to rest and recover. In other words, nature walks were giving my brain a specific kind of workout that it desperately needed. As word of my transformation spread through my retirement community, others became curious. Was I really the same Margaret who'd been discussing nursing homes just 2 years earlier? What exactly was I doing in those woods each day? It began with one neighbor, then another, joining me for morning walks. Soon we had an informal group, 5 to 8 seniors depending on the day, meeting at the trailhead at 7:30 a.m. We called ourselves the Forest Elders, half-jokingly at first, but the name stuck. We ranged in age from 68 to 84, with various health conditions between us. Some used walking sticks or canes. One brought her portable oxygen. We adjusted our pace to accommodate the slowest among us. The social aspect added a dimension to my nature therapy I hadn't anticipated. Research shows that isolation is as dangerous for seniors as smoking or obesity. Our daily walks addressed physical health and social connections simultaneously. We celebrated birthdays on the trail with thermoses of coffee and homemade muffins. We supported each other through health scares, family dramas, and the inevitable losses that come with aging. We noticed when someone missed several days and checked in on them. In winter, we organized indoor nature activities, watching documentaries, creating pressed leaf art, planning spring garden projects. The connection to nature remained our common thread. This community became another form of medicine, one just as powerful as the forest itself. By the 3rd year of my nature walking practice, something extraordinary happened. My doctor, the same one who had handed me those assisted living brochures, began prescribing nature walks to other patients. He'd seen the changes in me and several others from our walking group. The evidence was too compelling to ignore. The local senior center contacted me about starting a formal program. With support from the Parks Department, we created Senior Nature Connections, guided walks specifically designed for older adults with health challenges. Trails were assessed for accessibility. Volunteer medical professionals joined some walks. Transportation was arranged for those who couldn't drive. Local media picked up the story. I found myself at 76 being interviewed for the newspaper, explaining how daily communion with nature had transformed my health when medical interventions alone had failed. Letters arrived from seniors across the state who'd read about our program. Many shared similar stories of healing. Others asked for advice on starting their own groups. I never imagined becoming an advocate or educator at this stage of life. I was just a woman trying to survive. But that's how change often happens, isn't it? We follow our own healing path and inadvertently create a trail that others can follow. Today marks 3 years since my doctor delivered that grim prognosis. 3 years since I was making end-of-life arrangements rather than life plans. I recently completed a 5-mile charity walk for heart disease research. My doctor jokes that I should be the poster child for the campaign. My diabetes is controlled with minimal medication. I've lost and kept off 40 pounds. My heart function has improved to near normal levels. But the numbers and medical metrics don't tell the full story. The true transformation is in how I experience each day. I wake with purpose, eager to see what the morning light reveals in the forest. I notice the first spring wildflowers, the subtle shift of leaves changing color, the tracks of animals after snow. My senses, which seem to be dulling with age, have sharpened again. I've developed what the naturalist Rachel Carson called a sense of wonder, that childlike ability to be fully present and astonished by the natural world. This sense of wonder doesn't just make life more enjoyable. Research suggests it may actually protect against cognitive decline. I still have health challenges. I still take medications. I still move more slowly than I did at 50. But I've reclaimed agency in my own health story. I've discovered that even in our 70s and 80s, our bodies retain a remarkable capacity for healing when given the right conditions. And I've learned that sometimes the most powerful medicine doesn't come in a pill bottle. Sometimes it comes with birdsong, dappled sunlight, and the gentle rustling of leaves underfoot. If you're watching this and facing your own health challenges, especially if you're in your senior years and have been told to prepare for the worst, I want you to hear this message clearly. There may be more possibility in your future than you've been led to believe. I'm not suggesting that nature walks are a miracle cure or that they replace proper medical care. I still see my doctors regularly. I still take prescribed medications. What I am suggesting is that connecting with nature might be a powerful complement to conventional treatment, one that addresses body, mind, and spirit simultaneously. Start where you are. If all you can manage is 5 minutes on a park bench, start there. If you need assistance or mobility aids, use them without shame. Find accessible natural spaces in your community. Invite others to join you if that helps with motivation or safety. Document your journey. Keep a simple journal of your walks and any changes you notice. Share this information with your healthcare providers. And perhaps most importantly, approach this practice with patience and self-compassion. Healing at any age takes time, but especially in our senior years. Celebrate small victories. Forgive setbacks. Remember my story when you face obstacles. Remember that I went from preparing for assisted living to leading nature walks for others. Remember that the human body, even an aging one, holds remarkable capacity for renewal when connected to the natural rhythms it evolved with. Nature has been healing humans long before modern medicine existed. It's still healing us today if we only step outside to receive its gifts. So tomorrow morning, as the sun rises, I'll be on my trail again, walking among the trees that helped save my life. Maybe somewhere you'll be taking your first steps on a similar journey. And maybe, just maybe, you'll discover as I did that the worst they told you to prepare for was actually just the beginning of something beautiful. Thank you for listening to my story. Now I'd love to hear yours. Have nature walks helped your health journey? Share in the comments below or join our online community of senior nature enthusiasts. Remember, it's never too late to step outside and begin again.